The phone rang twice. I answered on the third, wiping my hands on a dish towel. Mom Grant said, voice brisk, "Laura's parents will be moving in with you. Temporarily. It'll be good for everyone." I stood still. The faucet kept dripping. I didn't ask why. He kept going. "Her dad's retirement didn't go as planned. You've got extra space. The cabin's big enough." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just listened to my son make decisions like he'd already moved the furniture. "They'll drive up Friday," he added. "They'll bring their own things." "Don't worry." Click. I didn't call back. Friday came too soon. I didn't rearrange a thing. I didn't change the sheets. If they were going to invade my home, they could bring their own linens. The gravel cracked under heavy tires. I looked out the front window. A white pickup. A trailer. 2 figures stepped out. Laura's parents. Her mother wore a windbreaker, already unzipping it like she owned the place. Her father waved toward the porch and said something I couldn't hear. I opened the door before they could knock. "Well, we made it." Her mother chirped, brushing past me like I was the coat rack. Her father followed, carrying a plastic tub labeled fragile. "We'll keep this one in the living room if that's all right." I didn't answer. Boxes piled up fast. Laura's dad whistled while he unloaded. Laura's mom asked where the guest towels were. I pointed to the closet and walked back to the kitchen. Coffee had gone cold. I poured another cup. Sat down. Listened to doors opening, footsteps upstairs, hangers clinking in closets that weren't theirs. No one asked permission. No one said thank you. Grant didn't show. Laura texted Hope the arrival went smoothly with a smiling emoji. I turned the phone face down. That night, the bathroom shelf was full of their things, vitamins, creams, an electric toothbrush humming in the charger. In the fridge, my yogurt was pushed to the back. 2 of their casseroles filled the top shelf. A bottle of almond milk I never bought sat beside my creamer. They didn't ask if I drink almond milk. I sat on the porch after dark. It was the only quiet space left. The wind moved through the trees like it always did. I used to love that sound. Now it felt like it was trying to cover someone else's voice. Their voices carried through the floorboards, talking about repainting, about fixing up the place. Laura's dad said the dining room needed more light. Her mom agreed. "Open up that wall, maybe." I gripped the railing. This was my house. I bought it with the last of my husband's pension after working 39 years straight. I chose it for the quiet, the land, the long road that kept people away. I didn't move out here to share it with anyone, especially not them. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. The next morning, her mother asked if I had soy sauce, said she was planning to cook a big dinner for everyone that night. I said nothing. She smiled like she thought we were friends. I opened the pantry after she left the room. One of the coffee tins was gone. Just gone. I stood there for a full minute, hand on the shelf, listening to the clink of dishes in the sink. The cabin wasn't mine anymore. But I hadn't lost. Not yet. She opened the fridge before she said good morning. Laura's mother bent down, frowned, pulled out a jar. "Expired," she muttered loud enough for me to hear. She tossed it in the trash, then reached for my pickles. "These are store-bought," she said, wrinkling her nose. "Doesn't she pickle her own?" She didn't ask. She didn't look at me. Just she. As if I wasn't in the room. As if I were a smell to ignore. Her husband walked in with a folded blanket and placed it over the back of my reading chair. My chair. Then he picked up the side table, tested it in 2 corners, and finally said, "This works better facing the window." I didn't ask what he meant by better. Grant came later. He kissed Laura's cheek, hugged her father, barely nodded at me. "Thanks again for helping us," he said, eyes fixed on the floor. "It's just for a while, until things settle." Laura smiled like this was the end of a long plan, not the start. I stepped back into the kitchen. My coffee was gone. The pot was full of some herbal mix, light brown and sour. The mug I used every morning, the chipped one with the faded mountains, was in the sink, crusted with someone else's oatmeal. I rinsed it. No one noticed. By afternoon, the couch had moved. So had the rug. The dining room chairs were swapped. My calendar was gone from the wall. A scented candle I'd never seen before was burning on the mantel. Vanilla. I hated vanilla. They were rebranding my life in real time. Grant asked if he could borrow the truck to pick up groceries. "We'll stock up," he said. "You don't have to worry about anything." I handed him the keys. He didn't say thanks. Dinner that night was stir-fry. Laura's father liked his vegetables with bite, so the carrots were raw. Her mother poured white wine into juice glasses and asked me if I had any decent napkins. I pointed to the drawer. She opened 3 before finding the right one. They sat, laughed, filled plates before anyone else sat down. I pulled out my chair last. Laura was telling a story about some winery her parents visited. Her mother laughed, then turned to me and said, "She doesn't really drink, does she?" She again. Still no name. Grant passed me the bowl like it was a favor. Like they'd done me a kindness just being there. After dinner, I cleared the plates. No one offered. No one helped. Laura's mother sat on the couch, reading a magazine. Her father turned on my TV, turned up the volume, and asked if I had the remote. I stood in the kitchen washing their plates, hearing their laughter through the walls. The faucet hissed. The water turned hot. I let it scald. That night, I found my slippers moved. Not lost, just moved, tucked into the hallway closet under a pile of jackets I didn't own. I put them back. Sat in my chair. It faced the wrong direction. I turned it back. Sat down again. Listened. Laura was in the next room talking to someone on speaker. Her voice bright and sweet. "Yeah, she's doing fine," she said. Quiet. Mostly keeps to herself. Pause. "Honestly, I think she likes the company." They moved my chair. Not asked, moved. Gone from the den. I found it wedged in the guest room under a pile of throw pillows I'd never seen. A new recliner sat where mine used to be, leather cold, still tagged. Laura's father said it had better lumbar support. He smiled when he said it. Like that made it okay. I didn't sit. I walked past them through my house down the hallway where the air no longer held my smell. Inside my bedroom, the thermostat blinked at 68. I always kept it at 72. The blanket at the foot of the bed was folded differently. My slippers were turned the wrong way. The mirror had smudges. I stood there staring and realized no one had knocked. Not once. In the kitchen, the coffee shelf had changed. The tin I used was pushed to the back behind herbal tea's lavender peppermint something called night blossom. My dark roast was half empty. The scoop was missing. I checked the trash. Nothing. They'd hidden it, not tossed it. I opened every cabinet until I found it behind the vitamins, tucked like a secret. I brewed a pot, sat alone, drank it black. Laura walked in and wrinkled her nose. "That's strong," she said, reaching into the drawer for her green sachet. "We might have to get a separate machine." "Yours doesn't filter well." I didn't answer, just sipped. Later that afternoon, her father came in with a level and a tape measure. He started marking spots on the wall near the staircase. "Thinking of hanging a new photo series," he said. Something rustic. My walls were bare on purpose. He tapped, checked the studs, made lines with a pencil. "You'll see, it'll brighten the space." I stared at the marks, at the way he didn't pause, didn't wait, didn't even ask. Laura brought in a rug. She rolled it out over my hardwood floor. "It's just until winter passes," she said. "Makes it less echoey." My floor never echoed. That night I walked through my own home and counted. 11 things had moved. 3 new decorations added. 1 chair replaced. My shoes were no longer near the door. The next morning, I woke to a knock on my door. Laura's voice. "Hey, just checking if you're up. Mom wants to use the laundry early." I didn't answer. I waited. Then I got up. They had put a new hamper in the hall. My hamper was in the garage. The fridge smelled different. I opened it and found mason jars with chia pudding, a container of soaked oats, a bottle labeled cold brew, but it wasn't mine. The dining table was set for 3. I ate toast at the kitchen counter. No one said anything. Laura's mother came in, looked around, and said, "We should do something with those curtains. They're very brown." She walked out humming. By noon, I found my calendar had been replaced. A new one. Fresh. Empty. No birthdays. No notes. No circles in red ink. Just one post-it stuck to the top. January's for fresh starts. Her handwriting. I stared at it, then reached into the drawer for my pen. It was gone. I chopped onions while they set the table. Laura's mother handed me a printed menu. She wanted roasted chicken, lemon potatoes, a winter salad, and 2 desserts, 1 dairy-free. "These are their favorites," she said. "Can you handle that?" "You've done Sunday meals before." She didn't ask if I wanted to. Grant walked in carrying a case of wine. Laura followed already in makeup. They were dressed like hosts, buttoned up, polished. She kissed her mother on the cheek. No one looked at me. I kept slicing. By 4, the kitchen was hot. I basted chicken, boiled potatoes, stirred custard. No one offered help. Laura's father came in once to check the wine temperature, then left. He didn't say a word. I opened the kitchen window for air. My shirt stuck to my back. The sink was full. The clock ticked. The lemon zest grated against my fingers. At 5, cars started arriving. Voices echoed from the porch. A woman laughed too loud. A man's deep voice boomed something about finally seeing the place. More glasses clinked. More coats hung. None of them were mine. Laura came into the kitchen and said, "We've got 12. Maybe 13 if Susan brings her husband. You're amazing for pulling this together." I wiped my hands on a towel. Where should I sit? She blinked. "Oh, maybe we'll figure it out after. It's tight out there. Mom thought you might prefer to eat once everyone's settled." My hands stayed still. My throat didn't move. "I'll bring you a plate," she said, smiling, and left. I waited until they were seated. I watched from the hall as they filled their glasses. Past platters complemented the lighting. Someone asked if the cabin was new. Laura said, "It's been in the family a while." Her mother corrected her. "We're helping her transition out of it. It's just too much for one person." Laughter followed. Light, pleasant. Like talking about old wallpaper. I stepped outside and sat on the porch. The cold hit fast. I didn't bring a coat, just a paper plate piled with scraps. Steam rose from the potatoes. I ate slowly, hearing the echo of my own silverware against the paper. From inside came the sound of a toast. Glasses lifted. "To new beginnings," someone said. "To family," Laura added. They clinked. I sat still. The chicken was good. I knew it would be. Someone opened the front door and stepped halfway out. Laura's mother. She didn't see me. She poured her wine onto the bushes, said "too sharp," and went back inside. I watched the dark patch in the dirt grow. When the door closed, I finished my plate and stood up. Inside, laughter rose again. Music started playing. I walked around the side of the house, past the back shed, and into the small room where I kept my file cabinet. The lock clicked open. I pulled out the bottom drawer, reached behind the folders. The envelope was still there, unopened, untouched. I held it flat in my palm. Then I put it back. I pulled the printer tray and froze. The paper was still warm, half fed, half stuck. My name in bold letters at the top. Beneath it, power of attorney. I slid it out slow. Read the first lines. My cabin, my rights. My signature space already marked with an X. Not signed yet, but almost. The door creaked behind me. I shoved the paper under a stack of old tax returns. Laura's voice floated in from the kitchen. "Grant, did you fix the printer?" It jammed again. He muttered something. My chest tightened. I shut the drawer, locked. It walked out like I'd never seen a thing. They were at the table sipping wine in daylight. Laura smiled, tapping her glass. Grant didn't meet my eyes. That night, I waited until the house went quiet. Their voices died down. Doors clicked shut. I stepped back into the study with a flashlight, opened the bottom drawer of my old file cabinet. Insurance, mortgage history, deed, all still there. I slid the new page in with the others, locked the cabinet. Then I dragged out the metal box I hadn't touched since my husband died. The key was on a string I kept tucked in my sock drawer. The box squealed open. I placed the file inside, set the lock, and tucked it beneath winter blankets at the bottom of the closet. In the morning, Laura's father was walking the halls with a tape measure. Laura's mother rearranged mugs in the kitchen. Grant sat with coffee scrolling his phone. He looked up once, then down again. I poured my own cup, black. My hands didn't shake. "Printer's working now," Laura said, casual. "We'll need to run some things off later." I nodded. Of course. No one noticed I carried my coffee back to the bedroom. By afternoon, I had dialed a number I hadn't used in years. My fingers hesitated before pressing call. Ray, speaking. The voice was older, but sharp. A pause. Then Iris. I shut my bedroom door. "I need to ask about property law." A silence stretched. Then Ray said, "I'll come by tomorrow. Bring the papers. Don't sign anything in the meantime." "I won't." The call ended. My chest eased for the first time in weeks. That evening, I cooked dinner while Laura and her parents argued over curtains. I kept my head down, stirring stew, ladling it into bowls. They ate in the dining room, talking over one another. I ate in the kitchen. Through the wall, I heard Laura laugh. Heard her father say, "Once it's settled, we can really start." My spoon scraped the bottom of the bowl. When I put the dishes away, I made sure to lock the study door. The key stayed in my pocket all night. I drove down the mountain early, didn't leave a note, didn't say where I was going. Let them wonder. The road curved sharp near mile marker 9. I took it faster than usual. My hands stayed tight on the wheel. Town looked the same, quiet sun, low, only 2 people in line at the bakery. I parked across from the library and waited. Ray pulled up in a silver sedan older than mine, but cleaner. She stepped out with a file folder already under her arm. We hugged once. Quick. No words. We found a booth in the corner of the diner. Coffee came first. Strong, bitter. I didn't ask for sugar. I laid the papers out in order. She flipped through them without blinking. Her eyes tracked every line, lips moving, but silent. "This one's fine," she said, tapping the original deed. "Filed right. Dates check out." She flipped again. "This." She held up the most recent form. Her brow furrowed. "This was drafted with intent to transfer, but it's incomplete. No witness signature." But they were getting close. I said nothing. She slid another page toward me. "Did you authorize this change in title access?" I shook my head. Then they forged something. The waitress came by, asked if we wanted refills. Ray said yes. I nodded. She leaned in low. "They're counting on you being quiet, being tired, being agreeable." "I've been all 3, I said. "Not anymore." She pulled out a pen, crossed out a line, and wrote something in shorthand on the margin. "You ever think of creating an LLC?" she asked. For the house, for protection, for control." I looked out the window. A teenager walked by with a backpack twice his size. "I can set it up," she added, "if you want it clean and untouchable." I nodded once. By the time we left, she had a folder in her purse and a copy in mine. We walked in silence back to our cars. "Give it a few days," she said. "Let them stay busy thinking they're winning." I opened my door. "And Iris," she added, "don't sign a damn thing unless I see it first." Back at the cabin, Laura's father was moving furniture again. The couch was halfway across the room. A rug I didn't recognize stretched under the coffee table. Laura's mother was on the phone. Yes, once the paperwork clears. Yes, she's agreeable. Just old-fashioned. Grant stood at the window when I walked in. He turned, startled. Where were you, Town? You should have said something. I set my bag down. Didn't know I had to. He looked like he wanted to say more but didn't. That night I cooked spaghetti. They added extra salt. Said nothing else. After dinner, I went into the back room. Unlocked the file cabinet. Swapped out 2 papers. Added a new one. Labeled it in red LLC. Pending. The cabinet closed with a heavy click. The first sign came at the grocery store. Mrs. Klein from church stopped me in the bread aisle. She tilted her head the way people do when they're about to deliver bad news gently. Are you doing all right up there, Iris? She asked. I heard you've been forgetting things. I stared at her. Forgetting what? She smiled weakly. Oh, just little things. Laura mentioned it. Said she's been worried. I set the loaf down and walked away without answering. By the time I reached the checkout, the cashier gave me the same look. Soft, pitying. I swiped my card, carried my bags out, and drove home in silence. On the gravel drive, Grant was unloading lumber from the back of the truck. He waved casually, like nothing was wrong. Picked up supplies, he said. We'll fix that railing on the porch. It's not safe anymore. Not safe. That night, I overheard Laura on the phone. She was standing by the porch, voice low but clear. Yes, it's been hard. She's not herself. Wanders around at night. Forgets where things are. We're just trying to keep her comfortable. I gripped the doorframe. Comfortable, like a patient. 2 days later, Pastor Hill dropped by. He hadn't visited in years, not without calling first. He stood on the porch with a pie and too much concern. Iris, we've missed you at service, he said. I thought I'd check in. Make sure you're keeping steady. Steady? I asked. He hesitated. Laura mentioned you've had some difficulties. I just wanted you to know we're here. Whatever you need. I took the pie. Closed the door. Didn't invite him in. In the kitchen, Laura's mother said, That was kind of him. People do worry, you know. I put the pie in the fridge without speaking. By Saturday, the story had spread further. At the farmer's market, 2 neighbors whispered behind crates of apples. One said, She used to be sharp. The other replied, Sad, really. I walked past them. My basket felt heavier than it was. When I got home, Grant was at the dining table with paperwork. He slid a sheet into a folder as I entered. You don't have to worry about bills, he said quickly. We're handling things. You can just relax. Relax. Another word for disappear. That evening, my oldest friend Naomi called. Her voice was cautious. Iris. Honey, I just wanted to hear from you directly. Folks are saying you've been confused. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Do I sound confused? No, she admitted. But Laura, well, she sounded convincing. I didn't defend myself. I just let Naomi talk until she ran out of words. Then I hung up. The house felt smaller that night, not from walls moving, but from eyes everywhere. Every word I said weighed and measured, every silence taken as proof. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the pie Pastor Hill had left. I didn't cut it. Through the wall, Laura laughed with her mother. Grant said, It's better this way. She'll be safer when we get things finalized. Finalized. I turned off the kitchen light, went into the back room, and opened the cabinet. The folder marked LLC. Pending stared back at me. I added another sheet, this one dated, and signed. When the drawer shut, it echoed louder than their voices. Laura slid the papers across the table. Just an insurance update, she said. Routine. We need your signature here and here. Her nails tapped the spaces marked with X6. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I lifted the pen, capped tight, and rolled it between my fingers. Then I set it down. Later, I said. She shrugged too quick. Of course. No rush. That afternoon, I sat in the living room while they circled around me. Laura on the phone, her parents whispering over folders, Grant pacing, muttering numbers. They didn't ask me to leave. They just spoke as if I weren't there. She won't resist, Laura told someone. She doesn't understand how complicated this is. She's lucky we're handling it, her mother added. Her father laughed. By spring, we'll have it wrapped. I looked at the TV but didn't see it. My ears worked better than my eyes. That night when the house was dark, I opened my laptop. I typed everything I'd heard, word for word. January 17th, 2:45 p.m. Laura phone call. She won't resist. She doesn't understand. I saved the file, printed a copy, slipped it into the folder marked LLC. Then I gathered receipts. Every grocery run I'd paid for. Every delivery I hadn't approved. The charges showed their handwriting, not mine. I stapled each to a page. Dated. Signed. The next morning, Laura tried again. This is just to keep the cabin insured properly, she said. Otherwise, you'll lose coverage. Don't you want protection? She placed the pen in front of me. I sipped my coffee. I'll think on it. Her lips tightened. Grant, maybe you should explain. My son sat across from me. His eyes flicked from the page to my face. He didn't speak. Laura sighed and gathered the papers. Fine. Another day. I walked to my room, shut the door, and pressed record on the small device Ray had given me. My voice came low, steady. January 18th. Attempted signature. Refused. Pressure applied by Laura. Witnessed by Grant. I stored it with the rest. By the end of the week, I had a stack. Notes. Receipts. Transcripts. Little pieces of their voices caught in black and white. Each night, I typed more. Dates lined up in order. A timeline growing longer. I didn't argue with them. I didn't raise my voice. I let them talk. And the more they talked, the clearer the record became. On Saturday, Laura came back with a fresh tactic. We're thinking of updating the will, she said. It'll make things smoother later. Avoid confusion. People your age forget details. Her mother nodded. You'll thank us for handling it. I smiled. Just once. Then stood, walked to the kitchen, and poured myself more coffee. Behind me, Laura muttered, "See." She doesn't even follow. I wrote it down that night. Word for word. The drawer closed on another sheet of paper. I drove to the post office, then straight to the bank. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't stop for coffee. Inside, the clerk asked for ID. I showed it. She unlocked the deposit box room, gave me privacy. Box 418. My husband's number. Same key, same weight in my palm. I opened it and pulled everything out. Birth certificates. Our old mortgage. A single envelope near the back, heavier than paper. Marked in his handwriting, emergency. I didn't open it yet. Just stared at it. Then I placed it in my bag and locked the box again. Back at the cabin, no one noticed I'd been gone. Grant was fixing a light bulb. Laura was typing. Her mother on a video call speaking French to someone I'd never met. I stepped over the new rug they'd placed in the hallway. Straight into the study. Locked the door. Pulled out the file marked LLC. Inside the final paperwork. Ray had sent it that morning. I'd signed. She'd witnessed. Filed under her paralegal license. My name. My house. My terms. No longer vulnerable. No longer shared. I slipped it into a fireproof envelope and placed it inside the floor safe along with the updated will. That afternoon, I called my accountant. He didn't ask many questions, just confirmed the account transfer updated my living trust and closed the co-signing access Grant had somehow added. Too many cooks in the kitchen, he joked. Only one stove, I said. We hung up. I unplugged the landline. That evening, I waited until they went to bed. I walked through the house, slowly checking corners, walls, outlets. The handyman I'd hired quietly last week had done good work. The first camera was in the smoke detector, the second inside a vent, third beneath the front porch light. Each one live, each one quiet. each one mine. At midnight, I sat in the locked study and opened the envelope from the deposit box. Inside, a single check unsigned marked for transfer of property. A second envelope labeled, "Don't trust him yet." A note written in my husband's blocky script. "If they come for the house, use the LLC. If they come for your name, use the will. If they come for you, leave the rest to Ray." I closed my eyes, pressed the paper to my chest. Then I sealed it back and added it to the box. Not yet, but close. By morning, Laura asked where I kept the tax returns. "Some of the paperwork's out of order," she said. "We're trying to get you organized." I handed her the old copies, just enough to keep her busy. She smiled like I'd caved. Grant barely looked at me. Her father asked when the plumber was coming. Said the pipes were too old to trust. They spoke like the house was already theirs. I made coffee, sipped slow, and walked to the back room. Inside the safe, I added a note of my own footage backed up. LLC filed. Will signed. Trust updated. I closed the box, locked it tight. Then I sat by the window and watched the trees move, the wind stirring branches they hadn't noticed. They thought I was waiting. I was counting. I parked 2 blocks away. Walked fast. Didn't give myself time to hesitate. The bank doors opened, and the cold air hit me like a reset. At the counter, Laura and her parents stood shoulder to shoulder. Grant behind them, arms crossed. A packet of papers on the desk between them and the loan officer. I caught Laura's voice as I stepped closer. "Yes, she'll sign once it's explained clearly. We're just moving things along. It's for everyone's benefit." The officer looked uneasy, flipping through the file. I pulled out my folder, set it directly on the desk. "Not necessary," I said. Grant turned. His eyes widened. Mom Laura's smile froze. Her parents shifted, confused. I opened the folder, laid out the stamped LLC registration, the notarized will, the property trust. Filed last week. Everything is in order. My name only. The loan officer's face changed instantly, relief mixed with professional caution. He slid the refinance application back toward Laura. "I can't process this. She's the sole authority. You have no legal standing here." Laura's cheeks flushed. Her father muttered something under his breath. Her mother pressed her lips thin. Grant tried again. "Mom, you don't understand." I didn't let him finish. "No, I understand perfectly. And so does the bank now." The officer nodded. "That settles it." We walked out into the parking lot together, the 4 of them ahead, me behind. Laura spun on her heels. "You went behind our backs," I stared at her. "You went behind mine first." Her parents climbed into their SUV without a word. Grant lingered, pale hands shoved into his pockets. "Mom, this makes you look paranoid." "No," I said quietly. "This makes me safe." Back at the cabin, the silence was sharper than any argument. Laura's mother slammed cabinet doors. Her father dragged a chair across the floor with deliberate noise. Grant sat at the kitchen table, avoiding my eyes. I made coffee, poured 1 cup, took it to the porch. No one followed me. I sat, steady, mug warm between my palms. Inside, their voices rose and fell, frustrated, cornered. I knew then the tide had turned. They weren't hosts in my home. They were intruders. And now they knew it too. The trap wasn't mine to fall into. It was theirs. And I was ready for what came next. I brewed coffee for all of them, laid out 4 mugs, poured slow, steady. No one offered to help. Laura watched me with that same smile she wore when she thought she'd won. Grant kept looking down, stirring his cup with a spoon that made no sound. Laura's mother adjusted a coaster under her mug like it was her table. I carried my own cup to the head of the table. Sat. Waited. Laura raised hers first. "To new beginnings," she said, smirking. Her parents joined in. Grant lifted his late. I clinked nothing, just sipped. Ray stood just outside the hallway, pretending to look at a photo on the wall. The small recorder in her coat pocket blinked green. I'd invited her to drop by, said I was tired of being alone. She understood the rest. Laura rambled on about upgrades, appliances, landscaping, maybe even a greenhouse. It'll add value, she said. Good for resale one day. Grant didn't speak. He nodded when necessary. His eyes never met mine. I watched them circle each other like a team rehearsing lines. Laura reached into her bag mid-conversation and pulled out a few folded papers. They fell to the floor. She laughed too fast. Oh, clumsy me. She bent to pick them up. Missed one. Her father reached for it. Ray got there first. Mind if she said. Laura's eyes darted. It's nothing. Ray opened the page, read, folded it again, slid it into her coat without a word. I saw Laura's hands stiffen. We all sat back down. The tension wasn't loud, but it was thick. I glanced at Ray. She gave the smallest nod. Time to close the distance. So, Laura, I said, what happens next? She blinked. Next. You tried to transfer something you don't own. You keep calling this your project. What are you planning exactly? She laughed, small and false. Iris, you're being dramatic. Ray stepped into the room. I don't think she is. Laura's mouth opened. Her mother stood halfway. Ray pulled out the folded page, placed it gently on the table. Proposed property transfer from Iris A. Beale to Laura L. Simmons. Pending authorization. Signature line blank. She tapped the paper. This is what you call nothing. Laura's voice cracked. It was a draft. We were going to discuss it with who I asked, because I wasn't in the room. Grant stood. Mom, just listen. No. You listen. I made coffee. I let you sit at this table. I let you lie in my house. But this, I pointed at the document, was never yours to take. Ray gathered the page. You'll hear from me formally by week's end. You may want to prepare your own counsel. Laura's father muttered something under his breath. Her mother looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Grant didn't move. I stood, took my mug, and walked toward the porch. Behind me, Ray's voice cut clean. It's funny, people rarely notice when they toast their own ending. The door clicked shut behind me. The coffee stayed hot in my hands. I stepped into the cold first. The woods stretched out behind me, dry leaves crackling underfoot. The fence ran low along the property line. Past that county land. He was already there. Black coat, clean boots file tucked under his arm. Name was Carson. Young, quiet, sharp. Ray had picked him. I trusted her judgment more than my own now. He didn't shake hands. Just nodded once. I brought everything you sent. We leaned against the wooden posts. I handed him a fresh set of printouts. Receipts. Photos. Transcripts. He flipped through each without slowing. This is more than enough. I know. I pointed to the top corner of the page. That's the moment Laura called me unstable. At the bank. Caught on camera. He nodded. Multiple witnesses. Paper trail. They've overreached. We moved down the fence away from the house. I could still hear distant voices, Grant, hammering something, Laura's mother complaining through the open window. They don't know yet, he asked. No. Keep it that way, he said. Let them assume you're cornered. We stopped at the old stump. He pulled out a legal pad. We have 3 options, Carson said. 1, you evict. File formal notice, give them 30 days, but they'll fight. 2, a civil suit for attempted fraud. That goes public. Press will bite. I said nothing. 3, he continued, is my favorite. A silent extraction. Ownership transfer locked, surveillance archived, everything filed. We don't tell them, we just act. I met his eyes. Option 3. He smiled for the first time. You've already done most of it. He laid out the sequence. File final protection documents. Send notice to utilities. Alert local law enforcement preemptively, not dramatically. Then wait. And when they try again, Because everything collapses on them at once. People like this, he said, they only respect what hurts on paper. Back at the fence, I reached into my coat pocket, handed him the second envelope from the bank box. My husband left this. For if they come for you. He opened it, read, quick eyebrows rising. He was smart, very. I nodded once. He tucked it into the folder. We'll use this last. Only if they push again. The wind picked up. A branch snapped behind us. He didn't flinch, just clicked his pen and shut the folder. I'll file today, he said. You'll get copies by Monday. Until then, play tired. I smirked. That part's easy. He walked back through the trees, boots crunching fast and sure. I stayed a minute longer, watched the sun pass through the bare branches. Then I turned, crossed the line back into my property, and followed the path home. Inside, Laura was yelling into her phone. Grant was at the sink. His head turned when I entered. You okay? He asked. Fine, I said. Just needed air. I poured myself a fresh cup, stirred slow. They didn't see the lawyer through the trees. They wouldn't until it was too late. Laura dropped the envelope on the table like it was a birthday card. Just a proposal, she said. A co-management setup. Easier for everyone. You'll still have full access, of course. Grant stood by the counter silent. His thumb traced the edge of his phone. I lifted the envelope. Didn't open it. Just looked at her. Okay, I said. Laura blinked. Okay, I smiled. Let's talk it through. She relaxed instantly, pulled up a chair, launched into numbers balances just in case scenarios. I nodded, jotted notes, sipped coffee. I never touched the pen she slid toward me. Later, I said. Want to read it properly first? Of course, she replied too quickly. Take your time. That night Ray called. She's getting sloppy, I told her. She thinks she's winning, Ray said. Let her walk further. I heard her flipping papers on her end. Your lawyer filed the final protection forms today. Everything's sealed tight. Good. Ray lowered her voice. They'll go too far soon. That's when we move. The next morning, Laura left brochures on my nightstand. Assisted living, tax shelters, flexible long-term options. I placed them in a drawer, didn't throw them out. By noon, she was at the computer again, clicking, typing, printing. A folder marked Next Steps appeared on the dining table. I brought her coffee. She didn't say thank you. Grant finally spoke after dinner. You know she's trying to help, right? I looked at him. Is that what this is? She just wants to make sure you're stable. If something happened to you, I leaned forward. If something happened to me, you wouldn't have this house. He didn't answer. I walked into the study, closed the door, opened my laptop, typed everything. January 25th. Laura offered full financial oversight, implied loss of independence, presented with options not requested, saved, printed, filed. I picked up the envelope she gave me, broke the seal, read each line, power of attorney, financial oversight, medical authority, property liquidation in case of mental or physical decline. I closed it, slid it into Ray's folder, wrote across the top, let them walk further. That night, Laura poured wine. To new seasons, she said, to making smart decisions early. I raised my glass. Didn't drink. They laughed, planned, pointed at blueprints they weren't meant to hold. I smiled, nodded, listened. Under the table, I pressed record. Every lie they believed was still safe. For now, I scrubbed the wine glasses by hand. 10, 12, 15. They just kept coming. Voices filled the house, laughter, greetings, footsteps pounding the wood floors. I refinished myself. No one asked where I was. Laura had planned everything. Decorations, music, charcuterie spread from town. She told the guests it was their house now, their mountain escape, their retreat. No mention of me. Not even a whisper. I wiped my hands, checked the roast in the oven, set out plates, then moved back into the pantry when they started taking photos. Someone knocked. I opened the side door to a late guest, Laura's cousin, maybe. He blinked at me. "Oh, hi. Are you the housekeeper?" I nodded once. "Kitchen's that way." He walked past like I was furniture. From the hallway, I heard her voice. Clear, crisp, unapologetic. "She'll be gone soon anyway. We've got the papers almost ready." Someone laughed. "Won't she be upset?" Laura replied. "She doesn't even know what day it is." I gripped the counter. The sponge dropped into the sink. I stood there until my hands stopped shaking. Then I walked to the study. I opened the drawer, pulled out the file. Marked February 1st, exit phase. I slid in 2 more receipts. One for the groceries I wasn't reimbursed, one for the wine. On the back of the second, I scribbled the quote she'd just said. "She'll be gone soon anyway." I dated it. Initialed. The party rolled on. I kept to the edges, refilled trays, took coats, was thanked by no one. When Laura's father opened his gift, everyone clapped. A set of antique fly rods. Mine. Taken from the locked basement cabinet. Grant glanced at me, then looked away. I didn't move, didn't speak. After cake, I returned to the kitchen. Ray's voice came through my earpiece low. "I'm parked 2 minutes out," she said. "You're clear for extraction whenever you say." "Soon," I said. "Let them finish pretending first." She paused. "You sure?" "Yes." At midnight, the guests left. Laura kissed her father's cheek. Her mother turned off the music. Grant took out trash that wasn't his. I stood at the sink again, watching the last candle flicker. Laura came in behind me, tapped the counter. "Could you handle the rest? I'm exhausted." I turned. "Of course." She smiled. "Thanks. You've always been so helpful." Then she left the room. I picked up the last plate, washed it slowly. In the other room, they toasted again. Something quiet. Something smug. I dried my hands, walked to the drawer, opened it, removed the envelope marked Delivery Feb 3rd, placed it on the counter. Ray would pick it up by morning. They wanted a party. They'd get a finale. The knock shook the door before the sun was high. I opened it. Sheriff on one side, process server on the other, both holding papers, both looking past me into the house. "Mrs. Beale?" "Yes." They handed me the envelopes. "Notice of confirmed ownership. Filing for attempted fraud. You'll want to read carefully." I nodded, signed, took the papers. My hands didn't shake. Behind me, Laura's mother appeared in her robe. "What is this?" The sheriff raised his voice. "Everyone in this residence needs to be informed. This property belongs solely to Iris A. Beale. Any attempt to alter documents or transfer title has been reported as fraud." Laura came running. "That's insane. She doesn't even..." The process server cut her off. "We have recordings. Mrs. Simmons, witness statements, bank evidence." By then, neighbors had started to gather. 2 women in coats, 1 man with his dog, standing at the end of the drive, watching. Ray stepped forward from the street, recorder in hand. "May as well play it," she said. She hit the button. Laura's voice filled the cold air. "She'll be gone soon anyway. We've got the papers almost ready." The sound carried. Neighbors froze. Ray let it run. Every word, every detail. Laura laughing about resale value, planning renovations for a house that wasn't hers. Grant stepped out onto the porch, his face pale, jaw tight. "Turn that off." No one moved. The neighbors just stared. Laura lunged forward, eyes blazing. "This is private. You can't." The sheriff held up a hand. "Ma'am, it's evidence. You might want to stop talking." Her father shouted something about family business. Her mother tried to drag her back inside. I didn't move. I stood on the porch, papers in one hand, coffee mug in the other. Every mask they'd worn cracked in full daylight. The neighbors whispered. She said it herself. Wasn't even hers. Unbelievable. I caught the eye of Mrs. Kent from across the street. She'd believed their story about me slipping. Her face now ashen, ashamed. Laura screamed again, words tumbling out, excuses, half-threats. Grant finally snapped. Enough, he said. Loud, clear. She spun toward him. You're just going to let her. I said enough. His voice broke. He pushed past her down the steps into the yard. The silence afterward cut deeper than her shouting. The sheriff folded his papers. We're done here. Iris, you're fully protected. Any further harassment, call us. Ray slipped the recorder back into her pocket. She gave me a small nod. Neighbors drifted away, murmurs trailing behind them like smoke. Laura's parents slammed the door. Laura stood alone on the porch, shaking her eyes, burning into me. I stepped past her down the steps. The gravel crunched under my shoes. Ray fell into step beside me. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. The cabin stood behind us, steady and mine. The next move was already waiting. I heard the first drawer slam before sunrise. Suitcases rolled across the hallway an hour later. Boxes scraped the wood floor. Plastic bins filled with clothes and smugness now deflated. Laura's parents didn't speak to me. Not a word. Her father refused to make eye contact. Her mother muttered about disrespect and ungratefulness like I hadn't fed her for 2 months. I stayed in the kitchen, made coffee, sat at the table and wrote dates on folders, labeled them with sharp lines. Final filing, audio transcript, witness list. Outside, her father cursed when the latch on the trunk wouldn't shut. I didn't offer help. They left without goodbyes. Grant stood on the porch while they backed out. He didn't wave, just stared at the road. When the car disappeared into the trees, he walked inside, closed the door, and said nothing. Laura wasn't done. The next morning, I found her pacing the living room phone, clutched like a weapon. "You think you've won?" she snapped. "This isn't over." She waved a printout in my face. Legal jargon. She didn't understand half of it. "I'm suing you. You'll regret this." I leaned on the doorframe. "Go ahead." 2 days later, Ray called. She went to the Macer Law Group. They laughed her out of the building. I smiled. What did she bring? A shaky timeline, no ownership, and a printed screenshot of a group chat. Said you manipulated her, and they told her she didn't have standing to sue a locked trust and an LLC she doesn't own. Then asked for payment up front. I chuckled. Did she pay? She stormed out. That afternoon, I passed her in the hallway. She slammed the bathroom door so hard it rattled the frame. She didn't come out for hours. I started clearing the guest rooms, washed linens, opened windows, let the mountain air take back the space. Laura watched me from the hallway, arms crossed. We're not leaving, she said. Grant lives here. That means I do too. I folded a quilt. You're welcome to believe that. She stepped closer. You think you're clever hiding behind lawyers? But this isn't what families do. I met her eyes. Families don't forge signatures either. She turned on her heel. Ray dropped by the next morning, left a packet in my mailbox, eviction prepared, ready to serve. Inside, Laura slammed cabinets harder than usual. Grant stayed out longer than ever. Every evening she stomped through the house like she still owned it. But her steps were slower now. Lighter. I watched her collect things, one item at a time, quietly, like she already knew. The only thing left was to say it. And I wasn't going to be the one who did. He walked in without knocking. I didn't look up from the sink, just rinsed the cup and set it upside down. Grant stood there, hands in his coat pockets, hair a mess like he hadn't slept. She's gone, he said. I reached for the kettle, clicked it on. He moved to the table slowly, like he was testing the weight of silence. We didn't mean it like that. I poured the water, let it steep. Things just got out of hand. We were trying to help. I set the coffee in front of him. Black. No cream. He didn't touch it, just stared into it. I know you're angry. I get it. But you don't have to. I sat down. My hands folded. My mouth stayed shut. He shifted, fidgeted, took a sip, finally winced. Too bitter. I thought you'd need help, he said. That place is big. And you've been distant. I raised one eyebrow. That was all. I just thought it'd be easier with them around. I waited. And Laura, she had strong opinions. You know how she gets. He rubbed his eyes. I should have said something. I should have, I don't know, been clearer. I reached for my mug. Sipped. Watched him. He looked older than I remembered. Not tired hollow. I didn't know she was doing all that paperwork. I didn't know about the account stuff. I slid the folder across the table. Opened it. His name was on 3 of the proposals. One dated with his initials. He stared. She said it was just mock-ups. Ideas. She told me not to worry about it. You didn't, I said. He blinked. The first word I'd spoken. It hit harder than a shout. He leaned back. The chair creaked. I miss Dad, he said suddenly. He would have told me to knock it off. I nodded once. He would have. The clock ticked loud in the quiet. I'm sorry, Mom, he said. It didn't land. He knew it too. His eyes dropped. Sorry doesn't fix anything I said. I know. No, I said. You think knowing is enough. It's not. He stared out the window. What do I do now? That depends, I said. Do you want to be the man she made or the man you promised to become? He didn't answer. His fingers gripped the coffee mug like it might offer something. It didn't. I'll leave the key on the counter, he said. I stood, took his mug. He didn't say goodbye. I watched him walk back to his car. Not fast, not slow. Just done. The gravel shifted under his tires. Then silence. I turned off the kettle. Wiped down the table. Ray's envelope was still in the drawer. It was almost time. I closed the front door and turned the deadbolt. The house didn't groan under someone else's weight. No shoes scattered by the rug. No coats draped where they didn't belong. For the first time in months, it was still. I set the kettle on the stove. Poured 1 cup. Sat at the table with only my chair filled. No voices interrupting. No hands reaching for the sugar I didn't offer. Just quiet. The phone stayed dark all day. No calls from Grant. No sharp-edged texts from Laura. The silence used to sting. Now it felt like proof that the fight was finished. I walked through the cabin room by room, ran my hand along the walls. These were mine, not contested, not borrowed. Mine. The guest rooms stood bare again, sheets folded, windows open, sunlight touching the floors. I left them that way. At dinner, I roasted chicken for one, set the table anyway, plate, fork, knife, glass. I ate half. Stood up. Cleared it all without pause. The clatter of dishes wasn't hollow, it was rhythm. I didn't feel lonely. I felt uncluttered. Later, I sat on the porch. Coffee instead of wine. The woods were alive owls whined the faint snap of branches. Every sound belonged here. None demanded anything from me. I thought of Grant's face at the table, the apology that never touched the ground. I thought of Laura's laugh when she said I'd be gone soon. Both dissolved in the air. Neither had weight here anymore. I pulled Ray's envelope from the drawer, read her note again. Keep this. Not for fear. For record. You've already won. I slid it back. The victory didn't need noise. It was already in the walls, in the silence, in the steady way the house held me. I let the night grow deep, watched the stars cut through the branches. Then I shut off the porch light, locked the door, and let the quiet settle fully inside. The next step would not be loud either. I unwrapped the frame slowly, brushed off the last bit of dust. The deed sat inside. Flat, clean, final. Delmore Cabin, LLC. Sole owner. Iris Delmore. I didn't hang it. I placed it. Right on the mantel. Dead center. No spotlight. No decoration. I stepped back, looked at it once, then walked away. No one knocked that day. No deliveries. No sudden visits. No voices calling from the driveway with fake concern. The neighbors stayed quiet too. Maybe guilt kept them still, maybe curiosity, but not one asked how I was. I liked it that way. I poured coffee, brought it to the living room, sat across from the fire that wasn't lit. I didn't need heat today. Just space, stillness. I sipped, watched the light shift across the floor. The frame caught it, once reflected just enough to remind me it was there. Not for them, not for bragging. Just so I'd never forget that I didn't give in. Ray had offered to celebrate. Dinner in town, a toast, something loud. I told her no. Quiet wins last longer, I'd said. She didn't argue, just sent a text that read, "You earned the quiet." That night I made soup. Simple. One pot. I didn't cook too much. Didn't think of who wasn't here. I ate by the window. Let the mountain air press gently against the glass. Outside, the wind moved the trees but didn't shake them. I left the dishes in the sink, let them sit, walked back to the living room, looked at the mantel again. Still mine. I didn't need a second look. Just the one. Just enough. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked down the hallway without a sound. I brewed the coffee stronger than usual, let it boil a few seconds longer, poured it full. No cream, no sugar, just heat sharp and dark. I wrapped myself in the old flannel, the one with one torn sleeve, the one Marshall used to wear on cold mornings when we built this place. I stepped onto the porch, let the door click shut behind me. The air cut clean. The trees swayed slow. I sat in the chair I repaired last winter. The wood held steady under me. The mug warmed my hands. Still mine. White letters on a black surface. Simple. Quiet. A squirrel darted across the railing, stopped, watched me, then moved on. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine hummed and faded. But it didn't come this way. No one did anymore. I sipped. Let the bitterness settle. No one had called in days, not even Ray. She knew better. Silence wasn't a hole, it was space. Space to breathe. Space to stay. Space I never had to earn again. I pulled my knees up, held the mug between them. The cabin stood behind me. Solid. Not just lumber or stone. Memory. Will. Not because I fought louder, but because I refused to leave. I didn't need to speak their names. Not anymore. Not the woman who tried to gut the place from inside. Not the son who handed her the knife. They were somewhere else now. And I was here. I took another sip. The wind picked up slightly. Pine needles shifted. The boards creaked. I looked out at the woods and thought finally not of what was taken, but of what was left. What never moved. What always stayed. The porch. The trees. The deed, and the mug in my hand, still mine.